Hey all, here OS Reviews. You're watching our video review of the Honor Watch ES. This is a casual, everyday fitness smartwatch that sells for under $120, making it relatively affordable, I'd say. It's slightly less expensive than the Huawei Watch Fit, which has almost an identical design, minus built-in GPS, which this one omits for the lower price point as well. Otherwise, this is, again, a watch from Honor, which is a sub-brand of Huawei, and it has a pretty tall and distinctive 1.65-inch AMOLED display compared to alternatives on the market, which definitely makes it look a little different, I would say. There is an ever so slight arc if you look really closely onto the screen on the sides, although it's not super prominent, but because the panel here is OLED, it can definitely withstand a bit of bending, and so it gives it a slightly more futuristic look. There is an always-on display mode, so it can time out after a few seconds and still show a simplified version of the clock to give you a quick idea of the time without even waking the screen, which is a pretty neat function. Other elements of this watch include a OS that is called Light OS, which is powering all of Huawei's wearables. It is proprietary and different from, say, Android Wear. It's a lot more simplified and comparable to what Amazfit uses on their devices as well. Now, this watch is extremely lightweight. It's actually under 22 grams, so it feels almost invisible when you're wearing it. I really like how non-obtrusive it is. It almost feels like you're wearing a smart bracelet or fitness tracker at times, compared to the likes of something which is much chunkier and heavier from a traditional smartwatch like this TicWatch Pro here on the right. The body of the watch is constructed entirely out of polycarbonate plastic, but at the same time doesn't feel too cheap. The parts are fitted together quite well. On the back there's just the charging adapter, and by the way, the watch also supports fast charging, where fully charging the watch actually takes less than 45 minutes, and it can last you for over 10 days of usage before you need to recharge it again. The straps here, by the way, are 18 millimeters, so they're a little bit thinner than a standard, say, 22 millimeter watch, but they are also removable and you can swap them out for different textures. The default rubber one that comes included feels comfortable and breathable, doesn't irritate the skin. There's a simple crown key on the edge here that you can tap on once to also manually wake up the watch, as well as jump into the advanced menu after you wake it up and look at additional applications. Now, a few other things about this watch: it is rated to be 5 ATM for water resistance, which means you can wear this when swimming, when taking a shower, and it will still survive, and has 4 gigabytes of built-in storage. This memory is used for holding different watch faces that you can download and send over to the watch, along with holding some interactive training courses with some animations that the watch can display. Although one thing you aren't able to do on this model is store music locally on it. Now let's take a closer look at the software experience. As aforementioned, it is quite simple to navigate and understand. We can swipe down to access a quick list of shortcuts to things like a do not disturb mode, go into different alarms that you can set up directly on the watch as well. There is a haptic vibration sensor that will buzz to give you notifications and alarms, although there isn't a speaker on this particular unit. You can also jump into advanced settings, and overall scrolling on the watch, as you can see here, is a fairly responsive experience, pretty easy to figure out. From here you can also customize things like the ambient watch face. It's the ambient mode that you can see afterwards. As a whole, the display quality is also very good, as expected from an AMOLED panel, so it's super vibrant and punchy with very deep contrast levels, especially when displaying something like a dark background. Everything really does pop, and the brightness levels are also more than acceptable. There is an ambient light sensor on here as well, so the display brightness can automatically get brighter or dimmer depending on your environment, and you can also set that up using the advanced settings. Swiping up, we can access any quick notifications that come through from our phone, including text messages, social media messages. Although you aren't able to reply to them, you can quickly glance through it and see what you've missed. You can also swipe over into this carousel view to access your heart rate. It will also calculate a resting heart rate based on your past 24 hours of activity, the highest heart rate and lowest, and there's also the ability to send you alerts if your heart rate is above a certain threshold using the app. There's also stress monitoring, which is approximated also using the optical heart rate sensor. It'll count fluctuations in heart rate as enhanced stress, so you can quickly gauge that at a quick look. There's also the ability to check out the weather for the past day, and there are some quick animations which can also show up. There's also the ability for you to control any music that's playing back from your phone, using this as a remote to play, pause, and change the volume, and then also take a look at your activity. Finally, you can take a quick look at the sleep for the past day, and then taking you back into this main home screen. Overall, scrolling feels smooth enough, and it's pretty easy to use and sensitive as far as the UI is concerned. If we jump into the list of additional programs, one thing I want to point out is although the carousel view only gives you a quick look at the basic stats, you can find their corresponding app versions in this full list, and that will show you some more details. For example, in weather, I can now scroll down to take a closer look at the differences in temperature hour to hour for the day ahead, as well as a few other estimations for the next week. Other things that you can take a closer look at include the activity record. So not only is it going to show you that carousel, but we can also now scroll up to take a look at the calories burned, distance converted, as well as a quick look at our averages for the past week. The Spo2 sensor that can measure your blood oxygen level, and that is a sensor that is sometimes tied to the ability for you to breathe properly if there's enough oxygen in your blood. And same thing goes with sleep. We can also take a look at additional details now under this app here as well, including how many minutes and hours we've taken naps during the day as well. They were one of the first companies that used an algorithm that could detect the naps that you took and intelligently just record sleep throughout the day. So if I slept right now, for instance, it would track that as however minutes or hours and then count that onto my total time. And it's actually very accurate in terms of its performance. And then of course, when you sync the information to your phone, you're able to look at even more details like number of times that you woke up, REM, deep sleep, light sleep, as well as other statistics like your heart rate, how well you're breathing when you're sleeping. So there's a ton of details, which is all done without anything needing to be pressed. There's a simple stopwatch that you can also initiate, as well as a countdown timer can also be found on here. Of course, there's also a flashlight that turns the entire display white to very quickly illuminate some subjects in the dark and find your device. If you are connected, your phone then will vibrate and buzz. So pretty simple and straightforward. Really, the last two critical features here would be the workout part. So you're able to both look at your previous workouts that you've completed and take a look at some detailed statistics, such as the duration, your heart rate zone during that sport or activity, and view that back very quickly here, including your speed, things like that. And if I wanted to start a new sport activity, there's two sections that they're really sorted as. The first is fitness courses. So there's 12 different animated courses that comes on this watch. So for example, if I wanted to do something like exercise at home, you can tap on the About key here to take a look at the preview of the difficulty level of this training course, and also what types of moves will be required. There is going to be a visualization on screen of what that exercise type looks like so that you can follow along and make sure you're doing the positions here correctly. So it's almost like having a trainer or coach on your wrist. This is definitely a bit more extra and not a function that we find on the competing Amazfit or Xiaomi smartwatches, for example, which are lacking these courses. Gives you a bit more of incentive to try out these different types of activities, whether it's a simple stretch to relax you or work out when you're at home, or some more advanced things like a chest workout, which is a bit more difficult, and that includes other planks as well as push-up types that you can take a closer look at. And other, again, activities which can also vary in terms of their level of difficulty can also be found. So there's 12 of those active courses, and then outside of that, the regular things, which are just basically monitoring a running session or a simple sport or activity, can also be found underneath. It won't have a virtual coach, but you can track things like your heart rate as well as your calories burned, things like that during the entire activity, just like other fitness trackers and smartwatches. And in terms of these other activities, there's again a total of over 94 different modes that you can find, including dancing, karate, and so the list just goes on and on. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the accuracy of the performance of the sensors here. So starting with the heart rate, overall, this one doesn't really have any differences compared to other top-notch smartwatches and fitness bands, in the sense that I got pretty much exactly the same measurement compared to an Apple Watch. The 6-axis accelerometer used for detecting steps and motion is also pretty accurate in the sense that if you kind of shake the band, it's not going to count that as an accidental step. It's also not really going to undercount your steps either. So I found it to be actually very good. If I walked around 100 steps, it would typically measure around 99 steps or so, which is actually one of the best accuracies yet compared to a few other recent wearables I've tried from Amazfit, including the GTR2 and the GTS2, both tend to slightly undercount my steps. Again, the functions that it does have, it is calibrated to perform quite well. All right, so let's take a closer look at the companion application next. Since this is again a Huawei branded company, the app that they're using is called Huawei Health. If you have a Huawei phone or tablet, chances are it's already pre-installed. If not, you can find it for free in the App Store, both for Android or iOS. But again, there is really good integration with Huawei's own devices. It's like the ability for you to even see your number of steps directly from the home page of your phone without unlocking it. So as long as it's connected using Bluetooth, it basically is automatically syncing that over, and we're able to monitor things like steps that we've taken. If we tap on this dial, in fact, we can even take a look at more details and stats throughout the day that we were active, along with exercise records, which are synced over, and you can take a look at additional details using the companion app here. Cadence, the speed, everything is visualized in a pretty easy to see manner, and the app itself is also going to generate some automatic reports for you to look back on to see how well you've performed compared to other users and yourself in terms of previous durations in time, and give you different medals and rewards as you've become more active. So it does have a overall pretty intuitive system, and everything is organized quite well. Sleep, again, you can check out some more details here, including the different stages, as well as a point system that will be out of 100% to tell you how you're doing compared to your population and how you can improve your sleep as well. Breathing quality, all of these metrics which are automatically done using the combination of heart rate and Spo2 sensor. You can initialize an exercise from the app, and that will also turn on GPS on your phone to track your location if you're running outside, for example, using the phone's GPS. And then under your device settings, you're also able to take a look at the battery percentage remaining, as well as some additional profiles like customizing the watch face, as well as turning on or off certain functions like health monitoring. I can turn off sleep tracking or heart rate monitoring, for instance, to further elongate the battery if I choose to. That's all optional. And also what types of notifications you want to pass through. In terms of watch faces, this is one of the other advantages of Huawei's wearables, is they have a very large catalog of different designs, and you're bound to find something that you like in terms of the aesthetic. They're all pretty attractive in my opinion. You can find different styles, whether it's sporty, animated, and just really shows off the vibrancy of the panel that they're using here. So that's more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the Huawei Honor Watch ES. Again, it's a casual everyday smartwatch, more with an emphasis on health and fitness tracking more than anything else. Again, its list of functions might not be the most exhaustive. If you need something like built-in GPS, then you may want to consider the alternative Huawei branded version, which is the Huawei Watch Fit, that has the same design if you like what you're seeing here. And of course, Huawei and Honor do also have round variants of their smartwatches to consider if you prefer that aesthetic instead. They have the Magic Watch 2, for example, that we also took a look at just a few days ago. So you can check out more details if you're interested in the links down below, but for now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That was a more in-depth review of the Honor Watch ES from Huawei.